Good evening, everyone. I hope we have some questions today. So let's begin the class. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvinavadhetamastu Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Okay. A couple of classes back, we discussed the concept of upasana. So, in that, based on that class, there was a question which I could not address in the previous class. The question was, what is the difference between upasana and prayer? So, that is the question. Upasana, these are same. I mean, is upasana and prayer same? What is the difference between them? Is there any difference? Yes, definitely. Now, upasana is a bigger spectrum in which prayer may or may not be a part of. Prayer is something like a semi-upasana, but the prayer is more centered on oneself and what one wants, while the upasana is more centered on Ishvara or the representation of the divinity. So the upasana is more centered on God, while prayer is more centered on myself and what I want from God. Yeah. And also in my relationship with the God. Upasana has a lot of aspects, and the ultimate goal of upasana is to become that I am meditating upon. Upasana is more of a meditation during which and after which there might be a prayer depending upon one's relationship with the deity, depending upon one's attitude. Now, the word prayer is a very popular word. So, because the word is very popular, many gurus and mystics and saints use the word prayer in different kinds of meanings. The common meaning is you think of divinity, or think of something that is higher than you, a principle that is higher than you, God or a deity, and you ask for something. You may ask for some worldly things, or you may ask for chitta shuddhi, or which is purity of mind. You may ask for the better inner qualities. You may pray for, oh Lord, help me to manage my anger better, or help me to have more determination. May I have the strength to face the difficulties. These kind of prayers are also there. And you also have Kshama Prarthana, which is you are praying for forgiveness to nullify the guilt caused by the things you did that you are not supposed to do, and the things you did not do which you were supposed to do. Because of that, there might be some guilt and an incomplete feeling. So, to assuage that, you ask for forgiveness. There is one very famous prayer that we all used to do, when I was in college, in the hostel, in the boys' hostel. In the night, they used to pray that. You make a prayer. Before the night bell for sleeping ring, there will be this prayer. Whatever I did with my feet and hands, with my body, and through my various actions, through listening, through seeing, or through the mind, through thinking, whatever I have done that is not supposed to be done, whatever sinful actions, aparadam means that mistakes that I might have done, and in the actions which are prescribed and non-prescribed, because when we do what is supposed to be done, we might do some mistakes, and we may do things which are not prescribed to be done. Right? Uh, so in all these actions, whatever mistakes I have done, oh Lord, Shambho, please forgive me, forgive my errors, my mistakes, my shortcomings. And then you make that prayer, and then you go to sleep. And similarly, there is a prayer for when you wake up. There is a prayer. They pray to the Mother Earth, saying that, forgive me, I'm going to put my feet on you. So these are all these help us to emotionally attune ourselves to the divine that is present in every aspect of our lives, and to be conscious of the fact that there is a divine. So it serves so many purposes, and it also subjugates our ego, right? It also subjugates our ego and our identity as something that is subservient to the collective principle or the divine principle that takes care of everything. So the supreme being is above me and my personal reality. The supreme being, the universal reality, holds me and my personal reality. It sustains me and my personal reality. So without the universal intelligence of the cosmic intelligence or God or divine, I am nothing. I am nobody. I can't even exist. So recognizing that there are various ways in which we create a subservient ego and bring the attitude of prayerfulness in all our actions in various aspects of life. So that is a way, a mode of relating to the supreme being. Now upasana is visualization, understanding, and meditating, eventually becoming the supreme being. So during the course of upasana, as long as there is this dualistic feeling, during the even in the advanced stages, where you are not challenging the duality. I am there, my beloved deity, my God is there, and I am meditating on the Lord, right? So at up to this level, in my visualizing, meditating, and understanding and appreciating the concept of God according to the rules of my upasana, I include prayers in that. So upasana gives you the bigger picture. Prayer is a part of it, may or may not be a part of it, but usually prayer is a part of upasana. It is not different from upasana. It is one of the anga. Angas means one of the limbs in upasana that is there. Yeah. Usually a common person may start with prayer. Prayer is more common, and a prayerful attitude towards the deity, a prayerful attitude towards the divine eventually may lead the person to upasana. So upasana is a spiritual growth from prayer, we can say like that, and prayer is a part and parcel of upasana in most cases. So that's how we understand it. But then there are these mystics who talk about praying ceaselessly. I have read about this in Christian mysticism. After all, prayer is an English word, so I am using from their tradition. There is this Saint Francis of Assisi. They have mentioned about praying ceaselessly, 24 hours prayer. Huh? We also have the concept of ajapa. The japa becomes ajapa, where it becomes part of your breathing, they say. Right? So you are always in prayer, means it talks about, it is explaining a state of attunement to the divine. what we call in Yoga Shastra, in Yoga Sutra, there is a word called Rithambara. So Ritambara Tatra Prajna, it says Dharma Mega Samadhi, Ritambara Tatra Prajna. There is a sutra that talks about a certain level of purity of mind where that person is, consciousness, individual consciousness is completely in tune with the universal rhythms and reality, right? The cosmic reality, the cosmic mind. So that is called Ritambara, means it is infused with the truth filled mind, where the mind is completely in attunement with the divine. So that could be probably explained by this term praying ceaselessly. It is not an act anymore. You cannot pray ceaselessly. It's like your heartbeat. It becomes your part of your nature, a way of being. So that is not an act. So they are using the word prayer to describe that, because a common man knows only prayer. So he says praying ceaselessly. It is explaining what is beyond. So this is a method of explaining what is beyond the scope of the known, while using the words that we already know. Actionless action, they say, like that. Praying ceaselessly. It is actually not a prayer as an act, but it is explained using the uh, known word which is called prayer, an act, the prayer that everybody understands. It's like telling infinite happiness. When somebody says endless, infinite happiness, you tend to imagine it like one big kind of happiness. So it is very different. It is not the happiness that we know. It is not the sensation or the joy that we are familiar with. It is a completely another thing. But it is called infinite happiness because in that there is no need for any experiential happiness. It's something like a complete fulfillment which cannot be imagined. But how to explain that to an individual in order to motivate that person? So they say it is infinite happiness, infinite joy. They say like that. Yeah. So it's something completely another dimension. So similarly, the praying ceaselessly is a completely another dimension. It is not a common prayer. So since that is being used, the word is being used in that sense also, I mentioned in this case. So prayer can lead one to upasana. Prarthana can lead one to prayer. The word we use in Sanskrit is prarthana. So prarthana can lead one to upasana. Prarthana can be a part of upasana, and there need not be any prarthana in upasana in the advanced levels of upasana. So that's how I would answer that. And there is another question. Now, for upasana, we need, what do we need? Ishtadevata, right? So this question is connected to that. How we can find our desired own Ishtadevata? Now, this before answering this question, I want to discuss this concept called Ishta. Ishta means that which is dear to me, something that I like, something towards which my mind flows automatically. Anything that we like, any object that we like, do you have to make an effort to pay attention to that? So, because you like it with the energy of love, the mind flows to the object automatically, effortless. So, anything that I love, my mind flows towards it, my attention flows towards it automatically. Right? So, the concept of Ishtadevata is basically capitalizing on this subconscious, natural, instinctive energy of love that is active in us. Right? So, so we have to tap into what nature or personification or quality of God will make me feel more love for the divine. So that would be the question. So Ishta is basically, the point is to tap into the energy of love and the circuit of love inside us. There is a saying, like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he used to say, you have to do bhakti, you have to love your Ishta Devata, love God, the divine, with the combined love of a miser for his money, the greedy miser for his money, for the love of a child for its mother, for and the love of a woman for her man, for her lover. So all kinds of, and I will add one more, a love of every living thing for its own life, for being alive. So all these different forces of love, different kinds of love that in us. So all of these must be aligned. All the energies of love must be aligned towards the divine. So the Ishta Devata must invoke the entire bandwidth of love that we have inside us. So that is the point of, that is the essential principle behind choosing one's Ishta Devata, right? So does it have to be the same all one's life? Not necessary. Now, is it like, you are born, the moment you are born, your Ishtadevata is decided for you, and you are going to naturally discover that, when you go and travel in India, go to mountains and then all that and meet all the gurus, there you will find your Ishtadevata will call you and get you initiated. So these are all very romantic ideas. It doesn't happen like that, right? Unless you have done a big deal of upasana in your past life. So if a person has done a lot of upasana of Ishtadevata in the past life, so that deity's presence will be in the heart right from birth, right from the womb. The child will know the Ishtadevata, right? So that is a yoga brashta janma. So when you start the process of yoga, upasana and all that, and then you have not attained enlightenment or liberation, and then you get a very privileged next birth, which is taken care, and with all the conditions that allows you to proceed with your spiritual practice, right? So you will be given access to the upasanas effortlessly. All the events in your life will lead you towards the Ishtadevata. Ishtadevata will grab you by the hair and take you to itself. If it is a Ugraka Devata, if it is a very Saumya or a very Sattvic or a very soft Devata, it will hold you by your hand like a child and take you to the way they describe, Ugraha Devatas means these fierce forms of the divine. They say, they will he will come and grab you by your hair and drag you to his abode. They say you cannot escape God. They say so. Like that, if you have already those energies are alive in your astral body, what we call a sukshma sarira, the subtle body, will have the residue of the upasana. So you will incarnate in this body with all the energy of the upasana from the previous life. So in those cases, the upasana devata, the Ishta devata, will show itself somehow in life when the time is right. Otherwise, if one is starting fresh or one does not have a huge samskara, one has a little samskara, somehow I like these things, I'm able to appreciate, it triggers some emotions in me, but somehow I don't have anything very overwhelming or already predetermined in me. So I will have to explore. So in that case, one can find one's Ishta Devata through introspection, some study, and through the help of the guru and with the help of astrology. By listening to discourses and listening to the various uh, Puranas and various shlokas, the chantings and the mantras associated with various deities. You can have like a weekend. One weekend you can have for one deity. This weekend you pick up Lord Shiva. This entire weekend, do all Shiva related stuff. Listen to Shiva slokas, Shiva stuti, Shiva mantras, and read about Lord Shiva. Read some Shiva Puranam related things. Read about the Lord Shiva's saints. Look at the lifestyle of the saints who are devotees of Lord Shiva and all that. And then chant some, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, or Shivaya Namaha, or just Shiva, 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 Shiva. Do a lot of chanting and be in attunement with the whole Shiva Upasana lifestyle. Then forget about it. Then next weekend, take up Vishnu. Do the same thing. The following weekend, take up Goddess Lalitambika. Then you have Lalitambika, Kali, all any form. Usually there are two major forms. So there are these subtle points and and categories within each upasana, right? So within Shaivam, within Lord Shiva, there are subcategories. Within Lord Vishnu, there are subcategories. So it generally, in any major form, there is the Ugraha path, Saumya path. Okay, there is the approach of the fierce forms and the approach towards the personification of the divine in very sattvic and very soft and soft, nice and uh, pleasant kind of divine personifications. For example, you have in the soft form in Subramanya Upasana, the soft form would be Lord Murugan, Subramanya. The fierce form would be Vatuka Bhairava. So if you take the soft form in Ganesha, it would be Mahaganapati, Vallabha Ganapati. And the fierce form would be Uchishta Ganapati. Or, Shakti Ganapati, Ugraha Ganapati, like that. And if you take Lord Shiva, it would be Kala Bhairava, the fierce form, and Panchavakra Shiva, Sadashiva, the Saumya form. Like that we have. If you take the goddess, there are all the Sundari forms, Lalitambika, Kamalatmika, they are all the Saraswati, they are all the Saumya or the soft, sattvic personifications. Kali, Tara, Bagalamukhi, Chinnamasta, they are all fierce personifications. Durga comes in a very balanced, more balanced form. So generally, Durga is considered as more more sattvic and rajasic kind of a form. So like that, we have subcategories in each deity. So what you do, you explore the entire Shiva world one weekend. You explore the entire Shakti world one weekend. Explore the entire Ganesha world one weekend. For because of so I would say by God's grace, because any advantageous situation that we can use for our upasana is God's grace. So because of the divine grace, somehow we have all the information now available on internet. You have very authentic scriptures, everything available on the internet. I mean, a lot of them. And there are a lot of discourses of very good scholars, fantastic scholars available in YouTube. You can listen to the discourses. You can listen to the authentic chants. And maybe if you want some inputs regarding how to choose which chant, etc., you can take my help. I can give some inputs. If you already know some traditional scholar, you can ask them. Yeah. So like this, you can experiment and see which divine form personification you are vibing the most natural with. That's what we need to see. Yeah. So that is why we are giving a week's time. I'm telling every weekend, because once you get used to the vibration, it will go on through the work week and all that. It will be going, and it will kind of fade away if you don't have a very strong samskara, right? And then the next weekend you start another one. So like that, when you do, there is time to soak the vibrations and feel that, relate to that, and then you unwind from that, and then be ready. Empty the cup and be ready for the next. Then empty the cup, be ready for. So when you do that, it might look like you are taking it very frivolously. It is not, because we are not picking and choosing like a buffet. We are not, belittling any divinity here. We are trying to understand what subtle samskara we have. Because when I relate to the divine, I will have to come from within me, from a very deep place where my most natural psychic energies are aligned, my mental energies, my emotional energies, my thought structures, my urges and desires, the forces of various samskaras and tendencies in my heart. If at all any programming from past life, it needs to be invoked. Yeah. So all these factors are there. So because of that, I need time to experiment with the different possibilities within me to relate to God. So that is why I am bringing in a stimulus. See, my mind understands only outward things. I am always used to, I am always used to moving my mind outwards towards object. My sense faculties are directed outwards. That's exactly why we need upasana, because my mind is used to relating only to objects through my five senses. So I need to associate with the various vibrations that are connected to the deity through my five senses in order to be able to align my mind and to invoke a response, an instinctive, a deep seated response from inside my heart. In order to invoke that response, I need this external stimuli and a more organized kind of an external stimuli that carries the vibratory patterns that have the power to invoke the correct quality of prana or the life force, the nature of the life force that corresponds to that vibration patterns of the deity and that mantra, to invoke those energies from inside me. It's like a resonance. I need to have that frequency as a possibility inside me. So when I listen to that frequency as a possible, which is also a possibility inside me, immediately there will be a resonance. It is something like this. You might listen to music or dance. So one person likes one genre of music or one type of dance and vibes with that better. It comes more naturally. So that is called samskara. Somehow, one person likes more upbeat songs. Another person likes more melodious and opera kind of songs, right? So it depends uh, on the individual and the samskaras inside. Now, suppose if you do this experimentation and something clicks, it doesn't mean it is going to be the same devata or the divine form for the rest of your life. It need not be that. It might be the stage of your life where this energy opened up and it takes you up to a point which is required in order to open a deeper layer and a different kind of when you start vibrating in a different level, you might resonate with a different form of divinity. In the same deity, you might resonate in a different form. One mantra of Lord Shiva might lead you to another mantra of Lord Shiva. One mantra of the Devi might lead you to another mantra of the Devi and another form of the Devi, right? So there may be two, three favorite forms, but usually one will be the most suitable for meditation in a certain period of time in one's life. So it is also connected with the subtle energies in our subtle body, in our Sukshma Sarira, in our Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha. So the subtle energies there, which are usually understood using astrology. In Vedic astrology, they understand. But now don't go hunting for an astrologer, because most astrologers are not very well informed about this. They will only start telling you do this deity or that deity to solve this problem or that problem. To understand the discovery of Ishtadevata using horoscope is a very deep uh, approach, and not all astrologers are capable of that. It requires a lot of insight. It requires expertise in both the fields. It requires a good deal of attunement to the divine with the astrologer himself or herself. The astrologer himself or herself should have that inner attunement, should be a upasaka. Only then they will be able to get that intuitive guidance that is required for the individual to discover the Ishta Devata through astrology. Of course, one can take some inputs from astrology also. These are all external. Internal would be a kind of a introspection. So if you are used to introspection, if you are very habituated to staying quiet, going inside and listening to your mind, uh, you know, uh, getting in touch with your deep feelings, etc. If you are used to that, maybe you can try to relate with the idea of God. Whatever you have understood, whatever you feel as the idea of God, just stay connected to that. Or the most natural thing, not in terms of words, not in terms of concepts that you have, listened to the class, in the class or whatever. You might have listened to some God related ideas and concepts in the classes, but out of them, you would have formed a kind of an abstract feeling, uh, a natural movement of heart towards the concept of the divine, of the supreme being, right? So now, when you understand the concept of God and try to relate to it in an emotional way, see what feelings you get. If you want to make a relationship, you want to relate to God at the human level, from uh, uh, from the emotional center, how would you call, if you want that supreme intelligence to come in front of you, what qualities that supreme being should come with in order for you to relate to that embodiment? Let's call it an avatar. Okay, so when that avatar, when the divine comes in front of you as a exclusive customized avatar for you, what qualities would that divine being have, and how would you relate to that divine being, and how that divine being should treat you? Now there is this the different bhavas that are there in Narada Bhakti Sutras and all that. They have, we have Vatsalya Bhava, we have Sakya Bhava, Madhura Bhava, and all that. It's all there. But I don't want you to go into the literature, because the literature is very rich. So when you read the literature, it will put ideas in your head, and you may not be able to get in touch with your most authentic, genuine feeling that you have inside you. So it's something like this ikigai thing, it requires a lot of introspection. So you spend time with this question: if God comes in front of me as an avatar exclusive for me, is it, should it be a him or a her or anything else? Is it a symbol? What qualities it must have? So what emotion that divine personification invokes from my heart? How I relate to him or her or it? It can be a him or a her or a it. So it can be a he, she, or it. It can be just light. Doesn't matter. It can just be a sound. It doesn't matter. So there is no limit. There is no category at all. You can just completely, you can allow your heart to create the avatar of the divine being that you want, and then from there we will see which divine personification resonates the closest to that from the Shastra, right? So from all the mantras, the revealed mantras and everything, the spiritual literature that we have, we can try to map the one that is closest to that. So this visualization also helps to invoke your most natural channel of love towards God. So through this and all the methods that I have discussed before this, now you can arrive at the knowledge of your Ishta Devata that is probably the most suitable for this stage in your life, and probably that may be the one for the rest of the life, or it may lead you to the next. But if you choose the right one at this point, you can stick to that and fine tune that and start getting involved in that. And if it clicks energy at the energy level, if that Ishtadevata, that vibration clicks, it will somehow take you to the initiation that is required for you to go further. Yeah. So there will be signs, there will be dreams, and there will be some other guidance. Some kind of mysticism will be definitely be there, but don't over imagine and get romanticized too much. But definitely some kind of mysticism will be there. If we are invoking the energies from the heart in a deep level, and if you are able to align with that, if you invoke that uh, that energy of love towards God from your heart through this exercise of discovery of the Ishtadevata, there will be a point of resonance where that love for God will start flowing. And from there, all you have to do is to get in touch with that more often, and it will take you further. Right? So that force will start guiding you. You have to allow that inner force to start guiding your thoughts and your search for the further search towards the Ishtadevata. So that would be my approach. A combination of study, experimentation, introspection, and attunement to the divine, to the different divine energies, and internalizing it, and try to create a resonance and experiment with different possibilities. And once you feel the one that is the most suitable among all these, something will clearly will feel like a favorite. Then you can go with that. It doesn't feel like the favorite, then go with the one that is the most harmonious and the easiest to tune with. Because this bhakti or this love for God is something that God has to decide for you. They say it's a sign of grace, which is nothing but the result of the various karmas in the form of punya that connects you to the divine in this life. This punya comes from the immediate past life that has caused this present life, and the blessings of the gurus, etc. So with all that, if it is there, it is there. Okay. If it is not there, you cannot force it. But what you can do then, how to choose? Ishtadevata is a very useful, Ishtadevata is a very useful spiritual tool. Meditation on Ishtadevata, chanting the divine names, etc. It's a very useful spiritual tool in the process of self purification in yoga, the process of preparing oneself for the truth of the self, right? So, if there is not any big kind of resonance, through the experimentation process, just choose the one that feels the most harmonious and the smoothest to relate with for you, and comes more naturally, and you don't have to struggle to meditate or think or feel that personification of the divine. So that would be the second best. And then you arrive at the Ishtadevata. So this is how you, I understand it could be done from my experience. So let me see if there are any other question. Is there any other question? I think I answered these two. And any further questions on what I discussed right now? Oh, I got one in the chat. Thank you so much for answering. I got Japa mantra from teacher. The god of Japa mantra can be my Ishtadevata. That you have to answer yourself using all the process that I have told you. If you got a Japa mantra from the teacher, you can use that Japa mantra to tune to the idea of the divine that you have, and see if it invokes. Are you struggling in the Japa? Or the very idea, the very chanting of that mantra invokes deep feelings and uh, a deep attunement from inside you, in the form of sharp natural focus, inner focus, or an emotion from your heart center, or a kind of an involvement and an attunement. Does the japa mantra invoke that? So if that is there, then most probably the divine form represented by the japa mantra could be the Ishtadevata, or doing this japa will take you to Ishtadevata. Swadhyaya pratishtayam Ishtadevata samprayogaha. Swadhyaya includes chanting mantras, right? So whatever is the japa mantra that you are doing the japa with the sankalpa. Sankalpa means before starting the japa, you make a prayer. I am doing this japa in order for me to discover and get near to my Ishtadevata. And if you are the Ishtadevata, please reveal that to me, make me understand that. If you are not, take me to the Ishtadevata. You can make that prayer and start the japa and do that regularly during sunrise and sunset, and especially before going to sleep. Go with attune, chant this japa mantra in the mind while you fall asleep with this intention of wanting to get in touch, wanting to know your Ishtadevat. With this prayer, you chant this mantra and go into sleep. Right? And immediately after waking up from sleep, think of your mantra, tune to the mantra, and bring up this intention of wanting to know your Ishtadevat. That's it. Make it a habit, and the energy, the divine energies inside the mantra will help you discover the Ishtadevat. That is one way of doing it. So on November 1 is Amavasya. You can start this process on Amavasya with the new moon. So you do for usually within 3 fortnights it should work, like 45 days to 50 days. If you do that every day, by the next Amavasya, the full moon following the next Amavasya, by the time you should be able to get some kind of an insight, or some kind of a lead or a clarity towards your Ishtadevata. Yeah? Right. This welcome. Okay, so this the main thing, important thing is, when we are going into this upasana, Ishtadevata, mantras, etc., there is a lot of build up. What we call in India as build up. Build up means there is a lot of arthavada. There is a lot of exaggerated appreciation of certain aspects of the devotional practices. For example, you have this Nama Sankirtanam, Harikatha, and all that. So it goes with a certain culture. So every kind of upasana or devotional practice is packaged within a culture, right? But what happens over time, the culture becomes very dominant, the cultural aspect becomes very dominant, and the essence is almost hidden or even forgotten sometimes. And you get too busy within the cultural elements, you lose sight of the essential point. The culture is supposed to take one to the point. So all the cultural elements around the devotional practice serve two purposes. One, they help the masses to get in tune with that. It sustains the socio-cultural ethos that is required for this knowledge, this vidya, these practices, and this knowledge to survive and be passed on from generation to generation. Yeah, it serves that purpose of transmission, social transmission, and also it allows us to bring our externalized mind. It allows us to bring our sense faculties, our organs of action, our organs of perception, various streams of thought, all of that to be attuned to the divine that is represented in that devotional practice, in that culture, right? So a cultural element means it has music, it has dance, it has a dress, dressing style, it has a greeting style. If you go to between, in a Shiva devotional culture, they will say greet each other as Namah Shivaya. If you go into a Vishnu related, they will greet each other as Namo Narayana or Hari Om, Hari Om, or Ram Ram, like that. Jai Krishna, Shri Krishna, they will greet, right? If you go to that Devi group, they will greet each other as Shri Matre Namaha, or they will say Jai Mata Di, like that. So, for example, just a simple, instead of a hello, starting from a simple hello, every aspect of life is tuned to that divinity, right? So, that cultural context helps you to keep your thoughts tuned to the divinity, right? It helps. That is very good. But what happens is, uh, it is there is I keep seeing this. So many people are very busy with the cultural thing. The esoteric thing takes a back seat, or it is completely forgotten. There is no time for it. All the culture, sustaining the culture itself takes so much of time, and then there is no time for any esoteric practice. Or they forget about it. Only one person among hundreds or thousands picks up that esoteric aspect and gets tuned to that, and the cultural aspect helps this person to it sustains the context that allows this esoterically attuned person, this upasaka, to survive and thrive and grow. So the whole culture supports this person, and in return, this yogi, this upasaka, brings in more depth and more focus and more center to this whole cultural structure. Yeah. So you have to decide if you are if you just want to enjoy the cultural aspects or go deeper. So if you have an urge to go deeper, it is absolutely okay to put the cultural aspect in second priority and focus more on the upasana and the esoteric and the meditative and the inner aspects. It is very, very important to do that, and it is very good to do that. So do not hesitate or feel guilty for neglecting the cultural part, because we don't have the time and energy for everything in our busy lives, in our short lives, in our energy deprived lives of Kali Yuga. We don't have time for everything. We don't have energy for everything. We don't have resources for everything. So it is becomes very important to prioritize what should be my prime focus in my devotional training, in my devotional uh, spiritual journey, in my the process of my my practices connected to my upasana, in developing my relationship with God. So in all that, I have to set my priorities. What is my priority now? What is my priority on an everyday basis? What is my priority on a weekly basis, monthly basis? What is my priority on holidays? What should be my, if you are a woman, what should be my priority during my periods, and what should be my priority during ovulation and my other times of the day, right? So if I am traveling, what should be my priority? If I am staying home, what should be my priority? All these subtle aspects have to be thought about, have to be discussed with the teacher, and have to be put in place. So all these are very important. So I hope these insights will help you to go further in upasana. But always remember, from the Vedantic understanding, Ishtadevata upasana is a useful illusion. Please understand. We are very, very clear about it. It is not the absolute truth. It is the gateway to become ready to confront the absolute truth about the self. It is a gateway to make oneself ready for jnana, for Vedanta. It is part and parcel of the entire process, but it is only a gateway and the preparation to jnana, and it is a useful illusion. It is part of the dream, but it is the kind of dream that wakes you up. So that's how we understand and appreciate upasana, so that we see it in its right place. We don't overdo it, nor we neglect, like every other tool in the spiritual toolkit. So that's about the questions. Is there anything else? Anybody else wants to ask something else? Can I pray and ask God to reveal His form that He wants me to worship? Yes, absolutely. You can do that. Absolutely. That's exactly what I meant. Yes. And if you get some dreams and all that, keep continuing the prayer and see if a dream repeats. Because sometimes when a dream happens, the impact of the dream is in the subconscious mind, right? So when you wake up, you will have a tendency to treat it as a big revelation or a great magical thing because of the energy it has. Whenever you have a kind of a vivid dream and you wake up, especially early morning dream, we have a huge tendency to hold on to it and take it as the insight. It need not be like that. It need not be like that. It is possible to be like that, but it need not be like that all the time. So you will have to discuss these kind of things with somebody who understands it, and one who is not. Probably you can discuss it with me. I will help you not get into too much of imaginations, and see if it repeats. See if it repeats. If it shows signs in some other time of the day, and then maybe you give some time to it, that form, and let it go on for some time. But don't unless it is completely overwhelming, don't push yourself to believe, and don't push yourself to concentrate on it simply because it looks very mystically appealing, or simply because it is very interesting, or simply because that dream was very vivid and uh, you know uh, so instead of this kind of imaginations that are based on popular belief, right? So don't decide based on that. Wait for a pattern to repeat. If the Lord reveals the form that you have to worship, if it comes to that, it will show you different signs, more than one sign. And if it is a dream, the dream will repeat. And still, you will have to discuss with somebody, right? And then from there, we have to take it up and see how it goes. Yeah. So that would be the right approach to it. And definitely, yes, you can pray that. So first, you have to decide it is a he or a she, because we always think the divine is a he. It need not be a he. It could be a he, she, or it. So always start from your heart center, and from there reach out to the divine and see how it wants to come down to you, and see how you would want to relate to it. It is not about God's will. We have to understand this. When we are going through this Ishtadevata search, Upasana, etc., we have to understand there is no God's will. If at all we can attribute God's will to God, the Lord's will is that everybody, all the jivas attain moksha. That would be the God's will, nothing else, right? So that's how I see it. Whatever we see as a divine will, what we mean is that there is a strong karmic component and the punya operating in that direction. So there is already a lot of energy invested in that direction, and that direction gets revealed to you when you pray. It attracts the grace that is required to reveal that direction to you, so that set of vasanas to wake up, and then it becomes very clear to you. So that's how we see, as that is what we call as God's will, simply because it is regulated by the grace of God. So all the laws of karma, they are sustained, they function, they yield the result from past life to this life. So the whole mechanism of karma and karma phalam is sustained by the intelligence of the Supreme Being, by Bhagavan. So because of that, we say it is God's will, but it is basically your own karma, right? So God does not have any specific will for individuals. So that is all just It's a nice way of telling it. That's all. So it is not that God wants you to worship in that form. God doesn't want to do anything. It might look like that, but it is basically your own karma manifesting in that way that makes you think that the God wants to worship you. It is basically your own deep-seated samskara that manifests, and as a kind of a dreamy interaction or a sign, as some kind of a subtle sign around you, in front of you, that gives like a suggestion that this is the direction you must be proceeding. It is basically your own past karma and the deep-seated vasana that manifests like this. There is no divine will. So you can still subject that to your further analysis, further introspection, discussion, etc. So you don't have to completely fall over your feet and take it as some divine being wants you to do this. So don't get into all that imagination. That's very important because many people do that. There is a lot of uh, immature, mystic, romantic imagination that goes around the devotional practices and the divine forms, etc. Simply because there is a reason. It's because it is associated with a lot of high energy and it does something to us in a deeper level. And it is associated with a lot of unknowns. It is a dimension that we don't know. It's not like what is selling in the bazaar in the next street. It's not such a simple thing like that we can go and see. The dimension in which this operates is not available to everyone's knowledge. Only somebody with a very deep mystic attunement, some yogic vision, and very high level of subtle penetrative intuition, those people can, with psychic skills and all that, those people can probably have a peek into what's going on, but most of us don't know what is going on. So because of that, we tend to imagine a lot, and then there is a lot of fear mongering around worship of the divine. One thing you need to do is you don't have to fear God, you only have to love God. If at all what if there is something that is there to fear, you have to fear your own mind, you don't have to fear God. So that is very important. So please keep that in mind during this process of discovery of Ishtadevata and your mantras and all that. And don't be afraid. God will not punish. It is your own bad karma that brings you bad results, good karma that brings you good results. And God just sustains this entire process so that the result of karma comes to the individual who did the karma. This karma pala dhata is called. So God has no individual plans, no special plans for any individual because God has no plans. On that note, I will finish today's class. So I guess that's about the questions. I don't see anything more. Any one question, anything is there? Anybody is waiting? Then you can ask. Otherwise, I will finish the class. Okay, I'll finish the class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat. Thank
Nandri.
you.
Thank you.